And gentlemen, welcome to the Ango show. We are live. It is 1:11 p.m. on January 13th, 2025. And today we have a stacked show. Guys, I know we talked a little bit about doing these post shows. I'm going to be honest with you, man, that screwed with my sleep schedule and it was wild. And what I really want to do is long-term be super consistent. And I feel like even when summer comes around, I don't want to get to the point where like I'm constantly missing live streams. I want this to be like a thing that is already like consistent as hell. And listen, here's the reality. The best way to do that is moving forward at 12 p.m. For the schedule of the show. So we're going to do this. You guys will get post pay-per-view shows depending on the pay-per-views. But of course, you know, this is going to be the way that it goes. Today, we have some really good topics that we're going to discuss. So as always, I'm bringing Billy TKO along with me on the ride. Make sure you guys subscribe to him. And then, of course, for those who missed the show, the video will be on demand. The audio will be published on Spotify and Apple. And, Beautiful. Of course, we'll have highlights on more Ango. And I'm super excited about this because I just feel like let's have a casual conversation, a healthy conversation. And today, there's going to be a lot of things that are, honestly, if I could be real honest, I feel like I need to vent a little bit. I need to rant a little bit, which probably isn't healthy, but I feel like we kind of need to do that. We kind of need to say some things. I need to say some stuff that truly resonates with people because that's what I think is going to happen. I do think it is going to resonate with people to a certain extent. And, you know, that's what we're going to do. But as you guys can see, the title of today's show is WWE is trying to hurt AEW. Malachi Black and WWE. We're also going to preview Raw and talk about that. But I do want to kick things off with WWE trying to hurt AEW.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Billy, Peacock is listing Saturday night's main event. Basically, they are listing this show to counter program AEW All In.
Ooh.
I don't expect WWE to truly hurt AEW. All In.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it's going to like really mess with the viewership.
Yeah.
But I think WWE at this rate today, which by the way, we don't know what it's going to be like, you know, come July or whatever it is. If WWE keeps up this momentum, maybe the results will be a little bit different. But as it stands right now, I think WWE is actually doing this the right way.
Okay, explain.
Yeah, so like I feel like WWE trying to counter program AEW is a brilliant move on their part. It's not a fun move for us fans. It's not a fun move. Like if you're trying to watch AEW All In and then you got to choose between the two, like I don't know like how beneficial that is to the fans, but I think for WWE from a business perspective, they are trying to let AEW know that they are just not on WWE's level. And I think, you know, people will talk about the numbers and the ratings and all that bullshit, but I think deep down inside, WWE is going to have a little bit of a dent in the AEW product, which is best for WWE.
Yeah,
not best for us, but WWE doesn't care about us trying to watch AEW, right?
No.
So really, I think what this stems from and what I kind of want to get your opinion on is, do you think WWE doing this is a problem? Do you think WWE doing this is, you know, do you think maybe this is just a coincidence, right? Like what is your reaction to WWE trying to counter program AEW, especially at a time where AEW has very little impact on WWE at this stage of the game?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I think regardless, I think the people who want to watch AEW are going to watch AEW, right? We understand that on the internet they have their mass following, and you know what? I don't think that WWE is actually going to play a major impact on All In as a whole. But I do see how WWE and why they would do that. I think business-wise, of course, it makes sense, right? We're trying to take from the competition. Because at the end of the day, WWE is allowed to look at AEW like competition. They're another show in the North America. You know, they're competing essentially.
Yeah.
So from WWE and a business standpoint, absolutely genius idea. That's AEW's biggest pay-per-view. That's their WrestleMania. And we're saying, hey, yeah, you guys might want to watch that, but think about what's going to go on over here. And really what it comes down to for the casual fan, maybe like somebody like me or, whoever, I think it's going to come down to who's telling the better stories. That's where I'll pick to watch my wrestling. You know what I mean? But overall, I think you get a lot more. I do believe that this is going to have some kind of impact on AEW All In. I think the people that want to watch All In will still continue to watch it no matter what. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest, I'm not really impressed with AEW as of late.
Neither am I.
I'm gonna be honest here. Like I feel like they have done a really good job of pushing me away as a fan completely. Like it is getting to the point where I don't know. I've always been a fan of AEW since the very beginning. I think a lot of people who watch the content knows that. Of course, you could be a fan of something and still critique something just the same way as I do with WWE. But I think I've gotten to the point where AEW has completely just said, fuck you, Ango. Like, we really don't care if you watch this or not, which is fine. Listen, I'm not saying Tony Khan has to build his whole show around me. But I can tell you right now, if I'm picking between Saturday night's main event versus All In, I'm straight, bro. I'm going to watch Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if we're talking about from this initial point in time, yeah, I'd agree. I think I'm going to pick WWE because I believe they're going to tell better stories rather than AEW, which I made a video on yesterday, kind of piggybacking off what you just said momentarily. Was that Tony Khan has just kind of said fuck you, Ango. Like I don't care about your what you're watching. Essentially, I agree 1,000%. I feel like AEW has, Tony Khan in particular, has completely gone away from what the fan perspective is. He's just putting on matches that he may enjoy. And maybe he thinks that we'll enjoy them. And of course, I think they're good wrestling matches, but I think we've lost just complete sight of like storytelling and how storytelling is supposed to go. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you here. I'm definitely going with Saturday night's main event at this very moment in time. I don't see a world where they get me beyond excited for All In, just at the way and the pace things are moving at right now.
Yeah, it's hard to grasp this idea or this concept though that AEW has just fallen off a cliff, and they have. And like every single time somebody says anything negative about AEW, it becomes this whole thing of like you're grifting. But I think a perfect example of this is Tony Khan announces this 12-man tag match for Maximum Carnage Collision, and you got the Learning Tree, which stinks, and then you got the Death Rider storyline stinks, and then Tony Khan's thing is like, hey man, let's put this together. Like, I'm sorry, bro, but everything you're doing on TV right now does not get me excited to watch AEW All In. Like, you could give me Kenny and Okada at All In, and that's cool, but like I've seen that match before, and
that's kind of the point.
Yeah, like I've seen that match before, and I get it. You want to do it on U.S. soil, and you want to do it on your AEW program, and like that's cool. But like you have two storylines right now that are just complete awful booking. People are not interested. This is not something where people are like, oh man, like this shit sucks, and that's it. This is like people are saying this shit sucks, and then if you look at the numbers, everything is going downhill. So people are talking with their wallets and they're talking with their attention because they're not giving attention to it. And I think that's one of the things where WWE is very calculated, and WWE understands the momentum has completely shifted in their favor. For a while, it doesn't. I don't think it completely shifted in their favor. I think WWE was always favorable over AEW from a business perspective, but from a perception standpoint, for many years, especially under the Vince McMahon era, like AEW was that saving grace. And then Triple H comes in, and now like everything has completely shifted. And now it's shifting to a point where if WWE counter programs AEW, it does do damage to AEW. But also at the same time too, I don't want people to take this the wrong way. WWE doesn't have to hurt AEW because AEW is hurting AEW.
Yeah, you beat yourself from within, and AEW has shown that they've done a pretty good job at doing that. You know what I mean? They've beaten themselves within, just with the horrible storytelling. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat the shit. It's horrible. It's atrocious. It's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
To me, it's not. You know, I'm not finding any enjoyment out of it.
So yeah, I mean, I think that needs to be said though, right? Like AEW is hurting AEW. WWE could counter program AEW. It doesn't matter because WWE is not going to hurt AEW any more than AEW hurts themselves. And listen, when you get the learning tree and when you get this stuff with the Death Rider storyline, even if it is the most logical storyline in the world, it's not good. It's not.
It's not.
And
it's not.
And listen, like this is a time where I think maybe AEW just needs to reflect a little bit on what they're doing. And the reason why I say this is because when AEW had the momentum and AEW was a strong company, they were the destination for WWE talent when they got released. And it was amazing. Now that WWE has all this momentum, people are going to... Excuse me. WWE will... like talent... Okay, when WWE talent got released from AEW... This is a perfect example. When WWE talent got released and they went to AEW, it was like, hey, man, like there's another place we can go work and it's going to be really cool. Then you kind of see things shift a little bit. Jade Cargill gets brought into WWE. People are like, oh, okay, let's pay attention to that. Let's see how does she keep her name? Do they present her as such? You know. Then you see Lexis King go to WWE, Brian Pillman Jr., and you see that, and you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. They've repackaged him. Like he's not a focal point. He's not a main event star, but hey, like they're actually doing something with him. Okay, yeah. Let's see what else, you know. And then you see Ethan Page in WWE, and you think, hey, they really got this guy going off strong, being a world champion. So then I start to realize something. AEW talent right now are all going to be paying attention to what WWE is doing. Look at what's happening with Penta right now. If I'm a disgruntled AEW wrestler who is not happy with my booking, and I look at Penta get this really major push, and his presentation is really cool, and they're all in with his merchandise. Yeah. Hey man, my boss rather book 12 man tag team match and not put me in there, you know, or like I would kind of look at that and say, hey, maybe that's an opportunity to switch sides. Whereas I think right now, if you look at the free agent market, by the way, WWE talent are all mostly re-signing with the company.
You're for sure.
The days of Kevin Owens is coming to AEW, like that shit's done with. Drew McIntyre's coming. It's not happening. People are happy in WWE. So WWE doesn't have to hurt AEW. WWE could counter program AEW, but reality is like AEW is just not a strong enough product today, and it's like not strong.
I'm here to tell you, I believe that Saturday night's main event will do. If not saying that numbers are everything, but I think they'll do better numbers than All In. Just overall, the fan base in WWE is just larger than AEW.
It's not apples to apples though. We'll see because with Max streaming service and
this is true.
We don't know just yet. I don't want to jump the gun and try to judge that just yet, but that is something I am thinking about though. Is like TV plus Peacock versus pay-per-view on Max. Like,
what's it going to look like?
What that's going to look like with the numbers and the buys and stuff like that. And that's really difficult because AEW, you know, pay-per-view buys, they do relatively well. But I don't like the idea of them selling pay-per-views. I don't think AEW benefits from selling pay-per-views. I think they would benefit from being on Max for free, just like WWE pay-per-views are free on Peacock or Netflix. But you know, that's kind of how I look at it. But I do think it needs to be said that right now AEW's booking is atrocious. This Death Rider storyline is killing the company. And you know what's crazy too, Billy? I feel like the Death Rider storyline started off really freaking cool.
Yeah, it did. Like I remember covering it in the beginning. I was like, oh man, like this seems really cool. You know, Marina Shafir, Jon Moxley, Cesaro, or Claudio Castagnoli. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is sick. Like this looked cool because it looked like not to say it's like the NWO or anything, but it kind of reminded me of that.
It's an invasion takeover. Yeah.
Right, it's an invasion takeover, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I remember the rumors of Shane McMahon and stuff like that potentially coming. I was actually kind of for that, if I'm being quite honest. But obviously that's just talking at this point. But yeah, no, that storyline, it felt amazing when it first started. I was like, this seems like a refresher. And then they just lost track of it. And I don't know where they lost track of it, but they did. It I've never seen something move downhill that was so like I don't know, it had success written on the wall, if you ask me.
I think the first turning point in the Death Rider storyline was when they were taking over the truck and then they didn't do anything. But then you see the final Rampage, and that's the way they ended the show with the actual takeover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. There was clearly a disconnect at some point with AEW
somewhere.
The way they did this. Really quick, I do want to read a super chat from DRecTube for $2. He says, this all comes from AEW gloating in the beginning. I have to admit, like, there is a little bit of truth to that, which I understand, by the way. I'm gonna defend AEW here. You're the new guy on the playground. You see some very early success with your ratings at a time where nobody expected it. Nobody really saw it coming. They did take their shots at NXT for the viewership, and AEW kind of, ran with it. And I think in a way, though, they birthed the tribalism. Listen, tribalism was always going to exist with both companies in existence.
For sure.
But I do think they birthed the tribalism at that moment where it really became an us versus them thing. And believe it or not, with AEW kind of just being on this decline, who knows? Like, honestly, if they never, ever, ever had beef with WWE, if they weren't constantly taking shots, I actually think Triple H, and maybe I'm wrong here and there's a possibility, but I think Triple H would have been more willing, even today, to work with AEW. But I think it's Tony Khan's ego that gets in the way.
For sure. I mean, what once was a Vince McMahon problem, right? Because many years ago, we used to blame Vince, in that situation, like Vince McMahon's ego's too big. Vince McMahon is the billionaire on the block. Now it seems like it's Tony. Now it seems like, okay, well, Tony, you're kind of doing a little too much now. It was a lot in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? It always was a lot. It's like, okay, we're still, no matter, like you said in the beginning of the stream, WWE business-wise, truth be told, was always better than AEW. It always had a better ground than AEW did.
For sure. Which is, by the way, just a quick note, which is normal because WWE obviously had been in business way longer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So looking at it now, it's like, yeah, I agree. I think Triple H, we see what he's done with like Pro Wrestling Noah and what he's done with TNA. You almost can guarantee, like, hey, maybe if you guys didn't send all those shots and you didn't say everything that you did, maybe, just maybe, there would be a chance that we could potentially work together. And, who knows? You could get the Kenny Omegas versus the Roman Reigns of the world, but, that's fantasy booking at this point. But sadly, that's just, it's not the case anymore. Now WWE clearly looks at them as complete competition. They've said it numerous times.
No, for sure. I mean, WWE, anybody in the wrestling space is competition. The only difference is who's actually good enough to be competitive. I think that's an aspect that doesn't get talked about enough. But for sure, I look at this like, I think with AEW, I think with AEW, they've kind of burned that opportunity to work with WWE, which the reality is in the professional wrestling industry, I don't know if people have understood this well enough, but like, you need WWE to exist and you need WWE to be thriving for anybody to even give a rat's ass about you. That comes from a TV partner standpoint. That comes from an advertiser standpoint. That comes from a talent standpoint. Like, you need that because you can't be, you just can't, you cannot be a whole bunch of small companies in an industry where the number one company for 40 years just gets killed, And I think for WWE, this is the reason why everybody desires to go to WWE. The only people who don't desire to go to WWE are the wrestling fans. But like, the wrestlers have always had this thing on, hey, I need to go to WWE. Thankfully, when another billionaire walks around with a shit ton of money and says, hey, I can't be another WWE, but I can make another company that pays like WWE.
Right.
That works too, right? But at the end of the day, people have always wanted to go to WWE. And I think right now, if you're an AEW...
Well, that was always the dream from the start.
For sure. There was no AEW before, and I'm so happy that AEW exists. But if I'm a talent in AEW, I'm paying very close attention to what is happening right now. And I think a lot of people in AEW, and I seriously mean this, I think you're going to have a few guys like Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. I think there's like a few guys that are truly AEW lifers. They exist, and I hope they stay in AEW because they need that. But there's a lot of guys in AEW who don't need to be in AEW. And I think that needs to be spoken about because those guys who don't need to be in AEW, by the way, they don't need to be in WWE. But if they want to go to WWE, WWE will bring them in.
Right.
And I think some of those people are really going to pay attention to what WWE is doing. And it starts tonight with Penta on Raw. And then I think a lot of people are going to be paying very, very close attention with Malachi Black. Which I do want to switch our conversation and switch gears into Malachi Black and WWE. Yeah. However, we do have a couple of shout outs. There was a super chat from Josh Carlos 98. He dropped a $4.99 and he says, belt Will Hobbs this week. Darby is going to be out climbing Everest, which is a 10-week climb. What does TK have to lose by belting Powerhouse? I think this is a phenomenal super chat, and I'm biased because I literally tweeted out, end the Death Rider storyline, click reset, give the belt to Powerhouse Hobbs. What's your thoughts?
I mean, yeah. I think that's the thing, is we need to smack that reset button, and we got to do it stat. So this is your perfect opportunity, especially with Darby leaving. You can kind of just flatline that storyline. Let's hit the reset button, and let's actually utilize this young talent that we have in our company, like somebody like Will Hobbs, who we know could potentially carry the company on his back right now.
I mean, I'm just
given the chance.
I'm just gonna say this right now. Like, first and foremost, Powerhouse Hobbs gets a world title run out of, it's random. They didn't really build him up for it. Guess what? I would still rather have that than have Darby Allin carry the world title belts because I'm not a believer in Darby Allin.
And I believe more in Will Hobbs or Powerhouse Hobbs. Yeah. I believe more in him than anybody right now.
Yeah, I don't know where this whole obsession with Darby Allin being groomed for the belt makes sense.
You want the underdog. You want that storyline.
Oh, cool. What's the underdog in his storyline versus Jon Moxley and the Death Riders when this guy is now this guy, it's such an underdog story. It's such a great underdog story. It's so amazing because this guy loves AEW, but guess what? I want to go fucking climb Mount Everest before carrying the world championship. I would not put the world title on you. You don't even care about my company in that aspect because this is what you want to do. But Tony Khan's got to be Mr. Nice Guy and be like, hey, man, I want you to do other projects and live your life and enjoy what you want.
Yeah, that's cool. Be great.
That's great. That's awesome. And I'm not saying Darby Allin can't be a world champion, next year, maybe 2 years from now. But your company's in fucking dire need of a world champion that actually comes out with a world championship that people actually care about.
I think back to like Samoa Joe and how well he did with the belt.
It was like the fucking perfect time. It was the transition that, like, okay, we're pressing the reset button, and then they press a reset button,
then just go back.
And then
they went backwards
with this whole Jon Moxley beating Bryan Danielson. I honestly think will be one of the worst decisions AEW has ever made. And I love both of those guys, but the booking is atrocious. The booking is so bad. So listen, to answer the super chat, Josh Carlos 98. I'm going to be honest. I agree. Put the belt on Will Hobbs. Let Will Hobbs hold the belt for a couple of weeks. And then if you really, really, really want, you can have Will Ospreay. You can have Okada. You can have Kenny Omega. The fact that Kenny Omega is in this company and he is not the world champion is absolutely mind-boggling.
Asinine.
And this company would rather put the belt on Darby Allin and then have Kenny Omega and Okada for the Continental Championship at All In. Bro, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, I swear, I honestly laugh at this shit. I think it's absolutely funny to me to even know that, like, these are some of the things that are being talked about. And one thing I want to mention, too, regarding the super chat, there's a lot of people who are going to be naysayers towards Will Hobbs. They're going to say, oh, he's not ready. He's too green. He's not. Brother, we are literally getting to a point where this guy looks like a credible champion. He's a good performer. Maybe he doesn't have the best promo skills, but guess what? I would rather take that than the Death Riders and the Learning Tree stinking up this entire show. Show us that you're the change in the wrestling business, because this Death Rider Learning Tree is 2019 WWE bad. At least Powerhouse Hobbs gives us something different to think about. And if Hobbs takes the belt for 2 months, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. You might be able to actually book him for an entire year because people will just be so goddamn excited for him. That
look at the dude. Look at the dude. Look at the dude. I'd get behind it. No problem.
Unbelievable. Thank you, Josh Carlos 98 for the $4.99. Miles Hubert Roberson, a member for 20 months. He says, what is up, Ango and Billy? How you guys doing? Do you think Malachi will return as Alistair or keep Malachi? Also, what are you expecting from Raw today? We'll talk a little bit about Raw in just a little bit, but we are going to transition to Malachi Black in WWE. There is nothing that is confirming that Malachi Black is coming to WWE. I just want to preface everything by saying that there is a chance, there is an opportunity that Malachi will be back in WWE, because as of this time, it's not expected that he'll be back in AEW. Obviously, Zelina Vega is in WWE. I think everybody knows that Alistair Black, it's going to be Alistair Black. I don't see the Malachi name. I think we see the way he's been presented with the face paint and stuff. I do think we see that in WWE, but I think they'll go to Alistair Black. I'm going to say this, Billy, you give me your reaction. You let me know.
Yep.
I say Alistair Black, come to WWE and immediately put him in the hot seat for a credible World Heavyweight Championship match against Gunther, and go as far as having him dethrone Gunther.
Yeah,
at WrestleMania 41, by the way.
Hold up. You had me at, facing Gunther. You lost me at dethroning at WrestleMania 41. I mean, okay, here's the thing, and here's our problem, right? WWE has one of the best problems, if I'm being quite honest. It is that this World Championship, WWE Championship picture is so big, and it's so large, and the pool is so heavy, right? So my problem with it is like, as great as that sounds, we don't have to put everybody in a world title picture. I think, me personally, I think you can have Alistair Black come into the WWE and let him tell good stories through the mid-card. And what happened to great stories without the belt, right? I don't think you always have to put the belts on the line. I think Punk and Rollins right now is a great example of it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My argument to you. I agree.
Go ahead.
I've been on that same notion. You don't need belts. You don't need stories without the belts. 100% I agree. First of all, Vince McMahon butchered the hell out of Alistair Black.
Absolutely.
Somehow, some way, Tony Khan did even worse. Okay. Triple H, for some reason, knows how to book Alistair Black. Always has, always made him the top guy.
For sure.
I want to send a little message, if I'm Triple H, to any of those people that left WWE and went to AEW and want to come back. I've been paying attention, and this is what you could have been if you came here, but you chose not to. So, for example, the Undisputed Era, they had the aura. They were cool in WWE. Now in AEW, they're not. They're boring. It's not exciting. It hasn't clicked the same. There's nothing that will ever change that, right? But if Alistair Black came into WWE and he comes back, which, by the way, Tommy End versus Walter, it's just money written all over it. But if you give me Alistair Black and he's squashing people and he's getting to the opportunity where you put him in the chamber match and he earns his way, he shouldn't win the Royal Rumble. He should win the Elimination Chamber to become #1 contender to compete against Gunther at WrestleMania. I would much rather see that than the rumored match as of late is that maybe Jey Uso goes up against Gunther at WrestleMania. So,
I mean, yeah, for sure.
You see what I'm saying?
I think, I can see that for sure. Like, we know what Jey is capable of. We've kind of seen that match a lot recently. Yeah. That's the thing, is like a lot of these matches have happened before, but we're talking about just as of recent. Yeah. We've obviously seen Gunther and Jey. They've had their throwdowns or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I actually agree. My only thing about it is like there's somebody like John Cena that still exists. Now, what he is going to do at Mania is that's obviously still up in the air, but you have to think like he sits somewhere in that pool too. And WWE, I'm not saying that this is the right call. I'm just saying, that WWE is going to put him in favor over somebody who has left the company and is just now coming back in.
For sure. So let's address this. We're gonna clip this specifically for X. Okay, this is a clip for X because I want this to reach millions and millions and millions and millions of people because this is gonna piss them off. I'm just kidding, but this is the reality. Okay, let me break it down. When I look at WrestleMania 41, there's a lot of rumors and a lot of things that are being said about the card. Maybe it's Jey Uso versus Gunther. Maybe it's Seth Rollins versus Gunther. Maybe it's John Cena versus Gunther. Maybe Cody and Roman the trilogy is on.
Maybe it's Seth and Punk.
Yeah, like there's a million things that are being said, right? Now, I have to be very clear here, and I think this is the most important aspect to WrestleMania 41. You need to not only establish the biggest and best stories, but you need to throw on some banger matches. Okay?
Yeah.
John Cena doesn't need to win number 17 at WrestleMania. So you can always have John Cena feud with somebody that's not for the world championship. It doesn't have to be Gunther. It doesn't have to be Cody. He can do that at SummerSlam. He could do that at Backlash. He could do that, whatever. It doesn't matter. John Cena, we got him full time for a year. So when I look at WrestleMania 41, do I want to see Seth Rollins and Gunther? No, I want to see something different. Do I want to see The Rock and Roman? Yes. So Roman should not be in a trilogy with Cody, but I'd rather see him versus The Rock. So this is the solution. This is what you do. You have The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 41. You have Cody versus John Cena at WrestleMania 41. You do a multi-man match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this should consist of Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Gunther, right? And you know what? Let's make it 5 or 6 people. Let's do something incredible here. Let's do a 6-man ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know. Give me something completely freaking different. But what I would do is I would have Aleister Black in that match. And I would have Aleister Black shock the world and win the World Heavyweight Championship. Immediately make him... No, hold on. Immediately use that opportunity to make him the top guy. You bring him back from AEW. He comes in as Aleister Black. Triple H knows how to book him. And then, by the way, in 2025, after WrestleMania 41, you start building towards... Finn Balor and Malachi Black. And then you have your other guys. You have your Seth. You have your talent that are ready for it. But... shock the world, do something completely different. Everybody's focus is what is happening with Cody and Cena and Roman and The Rock. People are forgetting about this World Heavyweight Championship. If you just give me a singles match between Seth Rollins and Gunther, I don't care about that. Same thing with Drew McIntyre and Gunther. But if you give me a multi-man match, maybe like some sort of elimination match, fatal 4-way, fatal 5-way, 6-man ladder match, I don't know. Just do something. Put your heavy hitters in that match and let somebody win, because that's the way it should be. Shock the world and create a new star. And Triple H would be giving a massive middle finger to Tony Khan because, hey, man, Vince didn't do right by him. You didn't do right by him. But I'm going to show the world exactly what I saw him as in NXT. And by the way, if I was an AEW star and I just saw Aleister Black come back to the company and win the world championship, boy, I am leaving with my contract the minute it expires. I am making that call. Hey, bro, do you got room for me? And listen, I'll go to catering. I'll go to NXT. I'll make those.
Wherever you put me, I'm
going to work my way up. But I would want that. I wouldn't want to be stuffed in a 12-man tag team match on Maximum Carnage where the storyline just stinks and everybody who's watching it already hates this shit. So now you got to have that stink associated with you. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Yeah, I've also seen numerous conversations about potentially putting the Money in the Bank back on WrestleMania, since there is 2 nights and you do the women's and you do the men's. I think you can also potentially do something along those lines. Will they? I don't know. But I think that's another way to get people involved with WrestleMania and to get those names that we've sat here and mentioned numerous times back in a good position. So I think maybe if that were something down the line, as much as I love Aleister Black, I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong or anything like that. But what I'm going to say is that I think we have to look at it from a what's the word that I'm looking for here? We have to look with a glass half full, right? Yeah. Aleister Black coming back to WWE is great, and it's going to be phenomenal. And we know that Triple H, we've already seen what Triple H can do with somebody like Malachi or Aleister Black, whatever. We've already seen what he can do. The thing is that we also seen how Triple H has booked coming out of, I mean, let's go back to when he took over the company, how he had to fix storylines and how he had to fix. He can't just drop everything that he already has planned because somebody is deciding to come in. He just can't. I hate to be the bad guy here, and I probably do look like the bad guy, but it's honesty. They already have things going on. They already have a plan, and they can't go based off of what might happen. They already have their eyes set on one thing. If we want to talk about it later down the line, sure, I do see that being the potential case. And I really like the idea of the 6-man match for the World Heavyweight Championship. I just don't see them putting the belt on him instantly. I don't.
Problem in pro wrestling is these bookers are not as risky. They like to play it safe, and that includes Triple H too. But I would be right off the rip, the first thing I'm doing is saying, listen, man, like, we're going to try something very different here. Because here's the thing. WWE wants to be entertainment. You have the entertainment aspect, bro. You have the Cody and the cinema and the drama and the aura and, oh my God, the cinema. You have that with Cody and Roman and The Rock and the Bloodline. You got that. Let the wrestlers wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's as simple as that. And,
a workhorse title.
And listen, I'm so fucking tired of going on Twitter and seeing people say, oh, Aleister Black is washed. Malachi Black is washed. Get the fuck out of here. Every single time somebody leaves AEW, they're washed. They're washed. And you know, the sad thing is that's fucking garbage. They're not washed. Their booking is washed. And I don't give a shit who says this or not. But honestly, Tony Khan has found a way to take some of my favorite wrestlers in professional wrestling and book them and present them like absolute garbage shit. And the fact that Tony Khan did that to me, I don't care about WWE's current plans for WrestleMania. Fuck all them plans. Get all those guys back. Keith Lee, I miss him. I hope he's healthy. And when he's healthy, I hope if he has that opportunity to come back, please bless us on Friday nights. Listen, Miro, I don't know what the fuck happened, bro.
You remember when he cut that promo about the brass ring?
Listen, all I'm saying, Miro, please bless us on Friday nights. And, you know, WWE, please understand. I know you can't sign everybody, but I'm just saying there are some people in AEW who have been presented like absolute garbage. It's just not doing it for me. My favorites literally go to a company where I'm like, wow, they're going to get a massive opportunity. They don't get that massive opportunity. They don't do shit. And it's not because of their fault. It's because of AEW. But the AEW sickos are like, no. No. They're just washed. They're not good. AEW is where the best wrestle. AEW is where the best. Go check the cage match rating where there's 20 votes and it's got a 9.2. And it's like, bro, this doesn't speak for what the people actually want. And the fact that so many people, they fucking took Deonna Purrazzo from TNA, who was a top star in TNA. And I'm not saying she would have done better in WWE. She was perfectly fine in TNA. She goes to AEW, and I swear I don't know what the fuck happened. This whole thing with her and Taya Valkyrie took forever to get to, and then it's not even that great. Like I don't get it. And listen, you got to just understand this, and I really hope, Billy, I'm knocked this into your head. I've been telling you about this shit for fucking years.
Yeah, no, and what people on this stream don't understand is this is actually a conversation that we have been having since probably maybe as early on as 2021. I think it was right when Punk came in. You were kind of noticing the little... because at the time it would make me mad. I'd be like, nah, bro, like I don't see it. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you've been knocking this into my head since I want to say as early as 2021, which is insane to think about.
Bro, it's just like I don't get it. I don't get how we got here, bro. It's the fucking
Don't get me wrong. There are some people, like somebody like Swerve, who has been presented pretty well in AEW.
Brother, Swerve is proof that you could take somebody and present them and let them go out there with the ball if you give them the ball. Swerve is the perfect example of like Triple H and Tony Khan sometimes just needing to understand invest in your talent who isn't always the biggest fucking name. Swerve is the perfect example of somebody who is like, he was a really, really good world champion. Why the fuck isn't Swerve battling it out with Moxley for the belt back? Why? Why is this a situation? This is a company in dire need, and I really wanted to point that out, and I feel like this company has lost its fucking marbles. It's gotten to the point where I'm beating this topic up like constantly, but then we're talking about WWE and we're saying, I'm saying, do something different. Don't give the belt to Gunther or Seth. Give it to somebody who deserves it, who could be a great world champion. Mind you, Aleister Black was a great fucking world champion in NXT.
Yeah, in NXT. Yep.
Great world champion. And I thought for sure when he went to AEW, I was like, okay, perfect. Like you have like, but no, they cooled him off. And now all of a sudden Malachi Black is not going to be on TV, and you got fucking Brody King being talked to like, oh, you guys don't need a leader. Buddy Murphy, you don't need a leader. You could do this shit on your own, brother. You don't need a leader. Like, that's fucking cool, bro. But what were you doing to build up Malachi Black when he was on the program?
Facts.
Tony Khan didn't give a fuck about his roster, bro. This guy plays, he's got his little action figures, and he's like, on Wednesday, we're going to do this, and on Saturday, we're going to do this. And by the way, it might make sense. It may not make sense, but it doesn't matter because it's my money, and like, who gives a shit, bro? That shit's ass. I swear to God, that company used to be so fucking awesome to watch. I used to like genuinely enjoy watching it. And then even last week, we were talking about doing a live post show, and I was watching the show, and like, and it's like, it's all right. Like, I don't really want to talk about it. And the reason why I don't want to talk about it is because it's just fucking nasty. It's like, it's not even just like this Death Rider shit. I'm turned off by it. Like, there's nothing in this company. I see the talent that are being used and the talent not being utilized, and I just have a lot of issues with it.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Bro, they took the fucking Hurt Syndicate. I watched them go into AEW, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking badass. Triple H fucked up. And now I'm sitting here like wondering like, wow, bro, like you have Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP. They look amazing. They sound amazing. Like, why not like let the Hurt Syndicate fucking kill off the Death Rider storyline? But no. We can't do that.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Andre Benson dropped a $2 super chat. He says, question, how would you reintroduce Black in WWE? I feel like we kind of already answered this.
Yeah, we did.
But what I will say, just like a very simple answer before we even talk about WrestleMania, I would have Aleister Black show up if possible. It depends on the contract situation, but I would have him show up at the Royal Rumble. If you cannot have Aleister Black show up at the Royal Rumble due to contract situations, very simple. You start airing vignettes. You air vignettes like you did with Penta, same exact thing. Yep. You announce Aleister Black for the next week. And I think what you immediately do is have Aleister Black squash people.
And you give him his theme song back.
Yeah, give him his theme song back and have him squash people. Give him some squash matches. And the reason why I say this is because you don't want to enter him into a program right away. You got to like recondition people that Aleister Black is a fucking legit superstar, because AEW had not done that. And I mean, like I said, my opinion is different than Billy's, but I'm basically saying give him the fucking Ethan Page treatment and just literally, phew.
I just don't. So listen, I'm a fan of it. I just don't think that that's the right thing to do, considering you already have stories. But that's my thought. But if we're going off presentation-wise, I think you make him look like the same Aleister Black that he was in 2015, 2016, my years might be off here, but like 2018, 2019, excuse me, I was so off there for a moment. But give him back that presentation and make him look outstanding. And I agree. I think he goes on a squash run. Yeah. Just go beat everybody, because that Black Mass, that kick, dude, that was one of my favorite finishers to watch. Oh. Like, and I'm not even big into like the whole like I love pro wrestling, don't get me wrong, but I'm not like dying for a 5-star match every time. But watching that guy with his finisher and the way that would hit, I'd be like, oh man. So yeah, I think just presenting him the same.
Listen, this is what should happen. The World Heavyweight Championship should get moved to SmackDown. All right, move that shit to SmackDown. Okay, WWE Championship goes to Netflix. Let SmackDown on the USA Network be like NXT TakeOver, literally every fucking week. Andrade, Aleister Black, Apollo Crews. You got to throw in Apollo Crews because he can still go.
Gunther.
Oh my God, put them all there. Gunther, everybody, right? Put them there.
Just let SmackDown be NXT.
Basically, let it be like Black and Gold NXT from 2014 to like 2019 before it became.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all.
And I swear to God, I tell you right now, you'll have 3 different types of products. WWE NXT is like the Disney Channel. Raw is like the crazy cinema.
It's what it's always been.
And I guarantee you, SmackDown will smack the fuck out of AEW's numbers because people will look at that and be like, "Oh shit, yeah." Andrade and Malakai. They said Andrade was washed when he left AEW. Then he goes out there and has a best of 7 series with Carmelo Hayes. He's washed. God. Every person that leaves AEW is washed. Jade Cargill's washed. They're all washed. Everybody who leaves that company is washed, and they suck, and they're garbage, and they're terrible, and they're fucking. They're the worst human beings in the world because they left the precious AEW. But here's the thing: this dude's
throwing bangers on a random Friday night.
When they leave WWE and go to AEW, they're the fucking best. They're the best. They're the best. They're going to be world champions. It's the funniest shit. Billy, I watched my video comments from when I talked about Andrade signing with AEW and Miro signing with AEW and all these people signing with AEW. The tone was very different. It was like, oh my God, this is an amazing signing. They're so amazing. They're so amazing. They come into AEW.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. That was fun. Shout out to Darth Bane, member for 4 months. He says, does Becky or Charlotte return first? I think this is a great question. I think Charlotte returns on SmackDown. I think Becky returns today. I think it happens both this week. I don't think they save it for the Rumble.
I think it's definitely going to happen this week. I think it happens this week.
Sure. Thank you, Darth Bane, for that. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's get a little bit back on track. You know, your boy was just a little mad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that man was going. Y'all heard him? He was going crazy.
So, what I want to talk about now, and I think this is a good topic for what we have expected right now. WWE Raw.
Yeah.
So I want to turn our attention a little bit talking about WWE Raw. Little preview for WWE Raw, what is expected. WWE Raw, this is the second Raw on Netflix. We saw the first one. It was like, hey, we're the WWE. We're freaking cool, bro. And we hope that you tune in, right? We got The Rock and we got John Cena. We got all these people.
Yeah, look at us.
This week, it is, hey, we're going to give you some shit that slaps. So, tonight's Raw, we have Dakota Kai
banger matches.
Yep, Dakota Kai, Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Really quick, my prediction is Lyra wins the IC title.
Mine's Dakota.
Okay. Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser.
I'm sticking with Dakota.
Okay.
Who you got? Yep.
Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. I got Ludwig.
Yeah, give me Ludwig.
And then we got Chad Gable versus Mystery Luchador, which is Penta.
Right.
Okay. I think
Obviously,
Chad Gable's going to win that. I think they're going to bury Penta. I'm just kidding, dude. It was a joke.
Okay. All right, bro.
Penta's got the merch. I mean, they're going off with him, right? They got a CM Punk appearance. They got Finn Balor versus Damian Priest in a street fight.
Can we just be done with that?
Be done. It's a 3-hour show.
I'm talking about Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like, that's really... I think it's over after this.
Good. Give me Damian Priest.
You want Damian Priest to go over Finn?
I think Finn should go over, but I think they're going to give it to Priest.
No. Finn Balor should win, leave the Judgment Day, and then throw Aleister Black in there when he returns. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke. That was a joke, guys. Literally a joke.
This guy.
No, I do think like WWE Raw looks absolutely stacked tonight. I'm very curious to see if they go 2 or 3 hours. I think that's a really big question is like, do they do a 3-hour show, 2.5 hours?
I'll probably keep it to 3 hours.
That's what I'm guessing. I think they're going to stick with 3 and then just like maybe a few minutes before 3 or a few minutes after 3.
If they throw me off and they do like a 2-hour show, I'll be like, bro, what?
Yeah. Dude, that's why it's also hard to plan for the post shows, but
that's what I'm saying.
WWE Raw looks stacked tonight.
Potentially return to Becky Lynch as well.
I think Rhea Ripley will cut a promo. I don't need the Judgment Day. Becky Lynch is like,
yeah. Sure. Cool with it. Raw's going to be stacked. It's going to be a good show, regardless.
Yeah.
This is where they get to show themselves a little bit more to a new audience.
For sure.
Yep.
100%. Cool. Yeah. Raw preview. Looks stacked. Looks sick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really curious to see what Triple H does to make everybody, fall in love with the product that saw it last week. I think I'm very curious to see their numbers. I think I'm excited about it, but I'm excited about it because they've built to this show. Penta and Chad Gable, though, should be a banger. And if I was them, I know they won't do this, but they should actually let that open up Raw.
I think
things
it should
off with a fucking debut, bro.
Just an instant classic.
I can't wait to see Penta's
his entrance and everything.
Yeah.
I seen his theme song potentially lingering around Twitter and what it's going to be.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. WrestleVotes put out a tweet. Tonight's Raw from San Jose will showcase what Mondays on Netflix will typically feel like compared to last week's premiere. Expect some changes in visuals as the
the dome was
it's not present everywhere. Tonight should still retain that fresh new vibe though. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I think for WWE Raw, it should be a fucking banger, bro. Let's see what they do. Let's see how they make this look, and shit. Penta's gonna get Def Rebel. That's what Trevor says.
I seen it.
I thought Jacob Fatu would get Def Rebelled,
but he didn't.
Just saying.
I don't know. Maybe things are changing.
Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
So definitely interesting. We're not going to keep you guys any longer, though. We're going to call it a day. Tomorrow we'll be back at 12 o'clock. We'll be going longer than 53 minutes for sure. Just getting everything going. We started off a little bit later today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about WWE Raw. We're going to talk about some stuff, whatever's floating around in the wrestling industry. As always, thank you to those who super chat. Thank you to those who are members. Thank you guys to subscribed. At one point, we had almost 300 viewers, which is, really cool because sometimes these streams, they're just like YouTube is kind of weird sometimes. So shout out to Billy. Guys, follow Billy on YouTube and Twitter. Also, if you guys aren't in the Discord, make sure you join Discord. And then also just keep in mind that what we're doing here is going to be really special and really consistent. Yep. That's what we're looking at building is something consistent. So
we're going to make this happen.
Yeah, we're going to make this happen. Appreciate you guys pulling up. Shout out to everybody. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.